guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Books Beside My Bed video. For those of you who are new here, I film one of these every week where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading, and for those who are very familiar with the series, welcome back. Two quick announcements before I get into my wrap up. The first is that I am currently doing a bit of a survey on my channel. I will leave a link down below. It's just a Google form. If you have a moment and you want to fill it in and give me some feedback on what you like watching on my channel, I would really appreciate it. I'm going to have that up for probably the next week or so, and I'm just trying to get some data about my channel. The second announcement is that the May Read Digital bingo board is up on my blog, so if you are planning on participating in the last week of May, it's already up so you can go and check it out. I will leave a link to that down below as well. This is my reading week from the 3rd until the 9th of May. I read a total of 11 things this week, 2,774 pages, and my yearly reading total is 168 books. This week I was participating in Bookemon, so pretty much everything in here counts for points in Bookemon. I haven't tallied up how many points and everything I earned for the wrap up because it would just get way too much. And I also think one of these books also counted for Romanceopoly as well. The first book that I want to talk about this week is Fool Me Once by Carly Lane. This was a review copy sent to me by Allen and Unwin, so thank you very much to them. It is a 2020 release from Allen and Unwin, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This was the book that fit our Romanceopoly challenge. It is the story of Georgie, who is a farmer in rural New South Wales, and she has always lived on a farm, and when she was growing up she dreamed of running her family's farm. However, when she was in her teens and still studying at university, her family's property was bought by a large corporation, and so she's never quite forgiven her father for selling off the family property. Currently she manages a cattle property for another family, and she really loves the job, she loves the farm, and she's got a good relationship with her employers. At the beginning of the book, Georgie ends up at a B&S ball because her best friend drags her along, and there she meets Michael Delacourt, who is very out of place amongst the local townsfolk. She later uncovers that he is a businessman from Brisbane, and they begin this long distance relationship until she discovers a secret that Michael has been keeping from her, and it basically shatters her trust in him, and the two have to work out their issues and see whether they can actually make their relationship work. This felt a little bit different to some of Carly's other books in that the problem in the relationship developed really quite quickly. Like, there was a lot of tension as you were reading because we know Michael's secret from the beginning, but Georgie doesn't, and we know that it's going to cause a rift, so there was a lot of tension. It was nice, it was different, and I really appreciated it, but I refer to Carly Lane's books as good curl up on the couch with a cup of tea books, and I mean that. And then I read Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Aurora cycle, and it was another review copy sent to me by Allen and Unwin. It is a 2020 release, again from Allen and Unwin, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Being the second book in a series and being a book that picks off right where the first book leaves off, it's very hard to talk about this series. However, the basic premise of the Aurora cycle, if you are not aware of it, is that a group of sort of misfit trainees from the Aurora Academy, which is sort of like a peacekeeping force in space, is thrown together at the start of the first book, and they are then implicated in something that was not their fault. And so everyone believes that they are responsible, and they are being hunted down by not only their own Academy officials, but also by some creepy space agents who may or may not have flowers for eyes. It's a very weird sort of story, but I suppose what drives the entire Aurora cycle is the characters, because they are just all delightful. They are snarky and funny and fun, and this book really tests their relationships with one another. So there's a whole bunch of different friendship dynamics that have to develop, working dynamics. There's a relationship in here, and they have to work with friends, they have to work with enemies, they have to learn to work without each other. And I thought that was a really interesting way to build up tension and suspense in this book. And it is not a short book, it's over 500 pages. While the first part I felt was a little bit slow, the ending really did it for me. Even though it left off in a cliffhanger, the ending just ramped everything up, and I adored it. So now I want the next book, like now, please. Then I read Frankenstein in Baghdad by Ahmed Sadoui, which was one of the books for Bookemon, and it is a 2018 release from Penguin. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It is sort of like a Frankenstein retelling set in Iraq, but honestly, that's about as much as I can tell you because I did have trouble sort of following the story and most of the characters. It was an interesting read, and I haven't read anything set in Baghdad, which is why I was so excited to read it. And I did like the Frankenstein elements to it, but at the same time, I had trouble following all of the people and the places in the story. So yeah, it was okay. Then I read Bin Chicken by Kate and Joel Temple. This is a 2020 picture book release from Scholastic. It was a review copy sent to me, so thank you very much to them. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And if you are not aware of what a bin chicken is, it is an ibis. and we have them here in Australia. And this is basically a little book about an ibis who is living in New South Wales and picks trash out of bins, and the other birds don't particularly like it, they protest it. But we learn a little bit about the history of the ibis and how they look after their young as well through the story, and it was just really fun. The last review copy I read this week was Who We Were by B.M. Carroll. This is a 2020 release from Allen and Unwin, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Sorry, I should say the imprint is Viper, but Allen and Unwin sent it to me, so thank you very much to them. This is well, it felt a bit like a domestic thriller. I don't know if it truly is, but that's sort of the suspense level that I got from it. It is the story of a group of high school friends who are now 20 years in the future, and they are living their lives, and they're about to approach their 20th anniversary school reunion. And some people are really excited about it, some people are not. Some people are still haunted by the things that they did in high school. And this is exacerbated when a few members of this friendship group begin to receive threatening notes revealing secrets that they would rather be best kept hidden. And then it becomes a bit of a mystery as they try and uncover who is behind all of these notes and are they a danger to their families. This was really interesting. I don't often pick up thrillers, but I was asked if I would review it and I did, so it was nice to read outside my comfort zone again. Then I read The Rise of Lord Stanton by Mia Marlowe. This is the first book in the Order of the Muse series. It is a historical paranormal romance series, I think, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. We follow Cassandra Darkin, who is a fire mage, and she's relatively new to it, so she doesn't really understand what's going on, and she's recruited into the Order of the Muse and trained to sort of become a spy. While she's there, she meets Garrett Sterling, who has the ability to influence the minds of others as well as dreaming true dreams. The two sort of begin a relationship while hunting down magical objects. So it was just delightfully fun and very different to anything else I'd been reading this week. Then I read 3 novellas in a series. It's the Fallen series by Nicola Davidson, beginning with Surrender to Sin, which was published in 2016. The Devil's Submission and The Seduction of Viscount Vice both were published in 2017. They're all very short. They're only just over 100 pages long each, and they are erotic historical romances. They follow 3 friends who own a scandalous club in London and the relationships that they have with their partners. The last 2 novellas in that series are actually second chance romances as well, which was interesting. I enjoyed them. They were fun and fast and easy to read. Then I read The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This was the group book pick for Team Mystic for Bookemon, and I'm so glad I read it. It is my first 5-star book for May, and I couldn't be happier about it. It was published in 2019 by Orbit. 5 out of 5-star read for me. This is like another love song to stories and the power of the written word. It was just delightful. It is a historical, it's not quite fantasy, it's more historical urban fantasy rather than historical fantasy, because it is sort of still grounded in reality on the real earth, but there are portal doorways that people can travel through. So I'm going to go historical urban fantasy. It is a story of January Scala, who is the ward of Mr. Locke, and he looks after her while her father travels around the world hunting down objects for Mr. Locke's collection. He likes to collect things from everywhere. January doesn't know very much about her father or her mother, who was in a terrible accident before she was born, and she doesn't really know where she comes from either, and she's very different to the people around her. She's quite content to play her role and to be the best daughter she can for Mr. Locke, until she comes across a strange book that starts to tell a story that begins to reveal itself to be part of her life. This sets off a chain of events where she ends up having to go on a bit of an adventure to find out the truth about herself and her life. This is beautifully written. The best comparison I can make, and it's not a true direct literal comparison, but it is the Starless Sea crossed with His Dark Materials, just in terms of writing style and the feeling that I got when I was reading it. So it's not strictly like His Dark Materials, but it's just that feel. One thing I will say, trigger warnings, there is some animal cruelty in here. When I read it, it bothered me because of what was happening, but it was actually a part of the story. But if you don't like anything happening to animals, just beware of that going into it. I just love this. It was a really great read, and I actually listened to the audio for this as well while I was reading it, and January Lavoie narrates it. She narrated the Diviner series, so it's a great audiobook. And the final book that I'm going to talk about is Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. This is part of the Star Wars series. This is actually, I think, the earliest in the current Star Wars timeline, or it was when this was published. This was published in 2019 by Century. I gave it 3.75 out of 5 stars. I don't tend to read anything in the prequel realm. It's just not my kind of thing. But this one follows Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, and it is really a look at how their relationship as master and apprentice is really strained, and it sort of sets up why things happen in episode 1 the way that they do, and why Qui-Gon is so enamored with the idea of prophecy and the idea of the chosen one from that film, amidst the two of them setting out to sort out a political situation on a planet in the outer reaches of the galaxy. It was entertaining. Claudia Gray always does a really good job with the Star Wars books. I mean, I just like her writing. While it did take me a little while to jump into it and sort out all the characters in my head, I did enjoy it. It's probably one of the better written Star Wars books I've read in a while. So those are the books that I read this week. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any of these books or if you're planning on reading them in the future. I would love to know. Otherwise, feel free to let me know what you have been reading. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.